Coming up next on my show, we're going to be talking about mortgages. How low can rates go? We'll be talking about that with a local expert next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I remember in the last few years as rates were ticking lower, you said to yourself, there's no way they can get any lower. We got to refinance now. Well, of course, we found out they can get lower. To talk about that, Robert A. Stern, he is with Mortgage Solutions Financial. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity. Rates have, in fact, ticked lower. It's pretty wild when you think about the fact that someone who actually refinanced a house a year ago could actually come back and refinance again for an even lower interest rate. We're seeing rates in the twos, literally in the twos and in the low threes. Unheard of interest rates. I've done this for 29 years, and we've never seen rates this low. Certainly not for this long, and for the foreseeable future, it's going to stay the same.
Well, Robert, I know you and I were talking off camera about the idea that you've been through several ups and downs. You were there for 9/11. You were there for the mortgage meltdown. The pandemic hits. Are you thinking to yourself, here we go again?
It was scary. It was scary because we have, in fact, lived through this, and I think home ownership is one of the staples in our society that's always going to rebound in some capacity, Jeff. But with that understanding, the reality is it was uncharted territory. When 9/11 hit, we had 2 weeks of absolute inactivity, and nothing happened in the entire industry. Certainly, we braced and prepared for a similar situation, and fortunately, the government was very quick to react and respond, reducing interest rates and actually pushing confidence back into the market.
And so instead of the phones going silent, they're probably ringing off the hook.
Oh,
right
they
now.
lit up. It's just been nonstop ever since February. Ever since February, we've been operating at roughly 250% of capacity.
And I think we heard from Jerome Powell today saying that the economy is going to struggle for a little while. So there's, in the foreseeable future, rates are going to stay low.
Well, and struggling is a relative term. I think that there are certainly several industries that are in a really bad place right now. Certainly, anything with hospitality, leisure is a struggle, and my heart goes out to all the people that are in the restaurant business, the hotel business, the cruise lines, so on and so forth. They're hurting, but as a whole, our economy is still somewhat robust, and I can say that firsthand because I'm looking at credit reports and bank statements all day long.
Wow.
There's still a lot of activity out there.
Let's talk about the American psyche because, as you said, that we're very resilient. But this is the largest purchase anybody's ever going to make.
Oh, absolutely.
It seems like if you're nervous about the economy and the Fed is saying that it's going to struggle for a few years, you hold off making that big decision. Why are people jumping into homes?
Because everything else is going up in cost around us. I think that we were speaking earlier about the average cost of an apartment in North Dallas. You're going to spend between $1,500 and $2,000 a month for perhaps a one-bedroom apartment. You can buy a home that might be equivalent to a $250,000, $275,000 home for the same money, plus have the tax deductibility aspect and clearly more room to social distance and work remotely.
Let's talk about refinancing because in some respects, it's really keeping some families afloat. That if you're a family who is out of work, you've got equity in your house, and you can tap into that.
Sure, and you can take equity out of your home. Texas has some very specific home equity laws. We are capped at 80% of the appraised value of the home, and that is, interestingly enough, something that the Texas State Legislature put in place. It is not a lender-driven cap. Several years ago, when we first started doing home equity loans in Texas, the legislature decided that in order to protect Texans, we could not exceed 80% of the appraised value. And the interesting thing is that when we had that big meltdown back in 2008, which we all remember, unfortunately, that 80% criteria protected a tremendous amount of families in other markets, Florida, Oklahoma, Michigan, where borrowers were allowed to take money out up to 100% of value. When the market collapsed, we had people leaving their homes in droves because property values collapsed along with the market.
Sure. I'm always worried about bubbles, and I know after the mortgage meltdown, it seems like one of the things that got the industry in trouble is anybody could fog a mirror was getting a loan. Are we creeping back into bad habits, or has that been protected?
Yeah, there's some disparity between what's happening now and what happened back in 2008 and prior. A lot of the loans that were prevalent then are not available any longer. Of course, I think the other thing to really consider now is that there's so much government oversight in the lending laws and disclosure laws that I don't feel like we will stick our toe in that pond of water again. I do believe we still have to be careful, though. As consumers, we are seemingly drawn to a good opportunity, and I think that we need to always be conscious of the fact that if things seem too good, they typically should be something we should be cautious of.
Sure. I have to brag on your company. You have a really cool company. It's based in Colorado Springs. We've got some pictures that we want to just share with the audience. And this is, I guess, during COVID because everybody's masked up.
Yeah.
What are we watching here?
You're watching some team building that we do, and we are very family oriented, very family centric. We do a lot together. There's a lot of good times. This is a very high stress business, as you can imagine. Every time we agree to take on a mortgage loan, and we'll do probably $3 billion in originating this year. Every time we take on a mortgage loan, we are literally taking on somebody's life. As you indicated earlier, this is the biggest purchase most people will make in their entire lifetime, and the responsibility that we bear when we agree to finance somebody's home for $100,000 or $500,000 is life-changing in that person's world, and because of that, we bear a tremendous amount of responsibility, and so we need to blow a little bit of steam off every once in a while.
So will this be a record year for you guys?
Yes, this has already been a record year. Every year as a company, we started probably 10 years ago going on retreats, on company retreats, where the entire company just shuts down for a couple of days and we'll take a retreat. We've been going to Mexico, to Playa del Carmen, and this year we exceeded our goal to go to meet Playa del Carmen in August.
Wow.
So we're way ahead, and as such, I think that's a clear indicator of what's to come, and more importantly, what we've been through, which has been it's been a roller coaster ride.
Sure. What separates your company from others in your industry?
Passion.
Yeah.
I really believe that passion is the key defining piece. I personally do a tremendous amount of community outreach and work largely with individuals who perhaps have troubled credit, or who have been compromised in obtaining credit previously. I do a lot of work with veterans, and like I said, a lot of community outreach between myself and my wife, my family as a whole. I think that's one of the big guiding principles that we have. But as a company, again, it's the same thing. Whether it's helping build homes for heroes, or working at the shelter to hand out food on Thanksgiving, or some other charitable cause, you got to believe in the community where you live and where you work. You have to reinvest emotionally. It's not a monetary decision. You have to invest in your community with your emotions. And I'm a Dallas site for 50 plus years. I couldn't love the state of Texas or the Dallas-Fort Worth area more.
Wow. Well, that's a good note to end the segment on. We're going to put your website up so everybody can get in touch. MortgageSolutions.net is the website. Robert A. Stern, thank you so much for coming on the show.
I appreciate the opportunity.
You bet.
Thank you, Jeff.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.